Hey guys, today I wanted to make a video on how to apply mix-ups because a lot of people asked me to make a video about this. It will not be easy to cover everything, but I'm trying to do my best. Just be sure, I'm doing this guide with Devilgen in mind here, but most of the stuff I will be saying will be true for every character. There just might be some stuff that is just like Mishima related, so don't worry about this. So first things first. You have various kinds of mix-up. The easiest mix-up to explain is the mix-up which, like this kind of mix-up where every mix-up opportunity has the same startup. For example, you have a 1+2 throw and you can try to do a 1 throw. How to apply the mix-up here is pretty simple. You just do the other version. It's not like you have to time things here. They're both equally the same most of the time. So of course, this is very easy explained, you just mix it up, don't be predictable. But I think what a lot of people want to know is how to create a 50-50 situation, or how to mix up strings and moves that are slower on the outcome, and how do you condition your opponent to not press buttons and you can safely mix him up. For example, with Mishimas you have the following options. You can do like a mid, which is quite fast, usually somewhere between 16 to 20 frames, or you can do a hell sweep, which is very slow. The mid is easier to bring out, usually, and the low is a bit slower. And you don't want your opponent to attack you while you do it. And you have these kinds of mix-up situations with a lot of characters. For example, if you play lead law, they have slides and you don't want to get interrupted. Asuka has this knockdown low which has very limited range, so the problem is you need to have time to use your move so your opponent doesn't hit you out of it, and depending on your move you need to be very close to the opponent to actually use it. So how do you get in your opponent's face and have him respect you? I made a video recently about taking turns in Tekken, and the same thing applies here. So one method you could use is, after certain moves you can try to, for example, you make a plus on block move. Let me put her on standing guard. And then you do a couple of times a quick mid. You do this until she stops pressing button. So at first your opponent might be hesitant to accept your turn. They see this move and they either don't know that it is plus on block, or they think they can jab you out of it, and you do your best, quickest options until she's conditioned to not press buttons. Now you have a situation in which she will most likely just wait for your down forward 1 or something and then take her turn. This is a prime opportunity to use a hell sweep. Just for sake's purposes, okay. What else? You have some moves, for example, you have down back 2 with Devilgen. Is a low that is plus on block. Plus on hit, don't take me wrong. This is minus 13, but plus 3 I think on hit. So how can you use lows like these, or any moves? But especially, I will be talking about lows for the moment, okay? So if you have a low that is plus on hit, you must think, okay, what is your quickest option? Do you have something that frame traps? For example, if I have this move, I can use while standing 4. Nothing, except for maybe a parry, can beat out while standing 4 here. So you do this over and over until your opponent understands that you will condition them to respect your turn by doing a quick mid. You can even be more aggressive with such lows. For example, if you know your opponent will press buttons, and very slow buttons, you can even go for a while standing 2, even though it is not frame tight. But in general, if you have a low that is plus on hit, you do this low and then condition your opponent to not to press buttons. And once you have it down and he will not press buttons, okay, got all. Yeah, my bad. Here. Once he stops pressing buttons like this, you can try to mix him up. So what does mix him up actually mean? It doesn't necessarily mean doing a 50-50. It's the same as in taking turns. So he does not press buttons. And you can mix him up in various ways, either by a sheer 50-50 with Devil Jin, for example, or just with a throw. Or you take your turn and do a plus on block move to make him nervous, and next time, because you know he will press, you can go for something more dangerous, because he needs something. Or for example, also a method of mixing him up. For example, you made this choice a couple of times, and now he understands, okay, after this move, he will use a slow move that is plus on block. And you know, okay, he wants to interrupt you, he doesn't want this slow move to go out, so what is his option? Either to parry you, or to jab you, most of the time. So you do this, then you wait out whatever he's doing. If he jabs, okay, it goes right over you. If he parries, he whips a parry. In both options you wait, and then you can launch. This is very simplified, so it really depends on your case, and you should look at your opponent what he's doing, but the most common choices, if you do a plus on hit low and you frustrated your opponent with slow moves, is he either will take a jab to jab you out of it, parry you, or if your moves are very not frame tight, he might do a down forward one. If he does a down forward one, of course crouching wouldn't help. But you have to take into consideration what your opponent's actually using. So now we created a mix-up situation with a simple plus on block move. And the possibilities are sheer endless. You can do stuff like this. Whenever I record a video, you know. You can try and condition him. For example, this here is 13 frames, so it is frame tight. There is no attack he can do that will beat out this option. The best thing he can do is trade with a dick jab. But you know what I mean. Basically, you can use a while standing 4 here. If you feel more cocky, you can use a while standing 1-2. Because this is another mixer for Devil Jin specifically, and you might have moves like this too. Devil Jin has either this string here, while standing 1-4, and the 4 here is duckable, and good players duck the high here. And because of this you have like a meta mix-up. People are conditioned to duck this, because in lower ranks people abuse this move. So you can mix them up by using the other version. And this will give you two benefits. First benefit is they will most likely run into the second mid because they are ducking, which gives you plus frames and you can mix up further beyond. And the other mix up is, because you do this move sometimes, they are not 100% sure whether or not they will duck your while standing 1-4. And this is good for you because you will not just simply use it for shits and giggles, you want to use it for punishment. But if you're late for the punish by 1 frame and it's not a true punish, your opponent might be sharp and duck it, and that's really bad for you. But because you conditioned him beforehand that you're also using this method here, he might be like counter conditioned to not duck it, even though he should know that this is a punish attempt and you will most likely do the high version. And if you have any punishment or any punishes that are like this, you should keep it in mind, and you can use it for moves that are not punishes too. The basic idea is you do some other variant, especially if the other variant is safe too, so that your opponent never knows what to duck. This is very important. If you constantly use duckable moves, your opponent will know when to duck, and it makes his job really easy. But back to topic. So we have this low here, it is plus on block. Our opponent is conditioned to not do anything. We can throw him, we can hell sweep him, we can bait him. Possibilities are endless with just a simple plus on hit low. What else do we have? We have plus on block moves. Like this here, okay. So what are your opponent options on most moves? He can backdash, okay. So you need to figure out, for example, this move here is plus on block, but it has pushback. So what happens when your opponent backdashes? You whiff and he launches you. So this, in the open, same with electric here, sorry. is not like a good mix-up tool usually. But the exception being is you know your opponent is trigger happy. And then you have another mix-up opportunity. This is +5 on block and your opponent is pushback. So the mix-up here is you don't do anything. Sounds stupid, but if you do electric a couple of times and don't press after it, your opponent gets conditioned that after an electric you will do nothing. So he will try to close up distance or approach you with like a slide or whatever. And then you can try do a second electric. Or if your opponent likes to duck because, okay, he's conditioned you like 50-50 and then he ducks and then closes in, you can try this. But the idea is you have to create a situation and then you have to observe what your opponent is doing and then decide with your brain what to do. And this is hard, and this can be used for a lot of situations. I just wanted to point out electrics, for example. But whenever you have a plus on block move or a move in general that has very much pushback, you have this great distance and people want to close it, and this is a more or less controlled situation. Because in the open everything is possible, but after a move like this is a very specific situation. Is that your opponent, you can do a lot of things, but still it is easier to understand and to figure out in your head what the possibilities are than just in random movement here. So you should be wary with your top moves and how much pushback they have and what your options are. For example, Brian has 3+4. I will show it immediately. Give me Brian. Brian? Yes. This is mix-upping has also to do with a lot of like ranges. For example, if I play Brian, and I might do a video about optimal ranges in Tekken 2. So Brian, okay, what is Brian's preferred range here? I would say from my experience, Brian's preferred range is this here. This is Brian's preferred range, somewhere between here and here. Why is that? Because at this range Brian has a lot of moves that hit you. He has 3+4 which he can use to poke you. I just need to figure out, because I don't know the exact move, but I will try to look it up. Is it this move? Yes. Forward for 1. Okay. Okay, perfect. Oops. Whenever you record something. Okay. For example, this move here on block. You see? A bad example, but here. Let's see. So, this is a setup. So you block this move, and this move is -13. Some characters can punish it, some not. I think Devil Jin can't punish this one. But for example, Lily can punish it, and some characters can punish this move. But the idea here is, why is it a mix-up? So he does this move. And when he does this, if I know that he will do this here, I can punish it. With a 13 frame punish. This is -13 and forces crouch. But this is an idea here. For example, he can just do 3+4 and nothing will happen. Let's see the other mix-up options. This is his other option. So he can also do just 3+4 and then another 3+4. If you're not fast enough, you will get hit by the second one if you just go like this. He can also use a 3+4 and then sidestep. let me record this again. So in this scenario he will use a 3+4 and... wait a second. He will use a 3+4. Yes. Been a while. 3+4. Okay. Now he uses a 3+4 and then does a jet upper. I will try to electric him. Maybe I'll be fast enough. Okay. His other option might be a 3+4 into sidestep or sidewalk. Let me record this here. Oops. So now he does this here. Oops. Let me try something different. Whenever you want to show something. Come on. Yeah. And his last option here, for example, could be... something like this. Or whatever. So the idea here is... he does his move here. His 3+4. And it creates distance. And either he does nothing and you do nothing. This is the first like possibility. He does his move, you both stand there and nobody attack. Because you are afraid that he will sidestep you or use something quick or something with high crush possibilities. And he doesn't want to get counter hit. If you don't know the setup, if you like block a 3+4 and you don't know Brian's setups very well, you might do stupid shit like electric or down forward 1 and it will whiff here. And he has his forward 4-1, which will launch you. It is the optimal range for this move. So no matter what you whiff, he will launch you for this. If you don't whiff, you need to close up the distance here. No matter what he does, you need to somehow close up the distance, and if you're not fast enough, you will get counter hit by the second one. So you have to be very quick. Some characters don't have good options like an electric or dash electric, so they have to close up distance with different moves, and if you're not fast enough, you might get hit by something he does. But the idea here is he has a move that puts you in a certain distance, and you can use this distance for various mix-ups and mind games. So keep that in mind. What else? Let's just talk about very simple 50-50 style mix-ups. How do you condition your opponent to not attack while you're in his face? Okay, one thing, as I mentioned, is do any move like a plus on block move and then condition your opponent to not press buttons. You can even do, I mean, one thing I like, it's not like I do, but I have a friend who plays Brian, and one thing he likes to do is orbital into dick jab. Okay, I'll just record this one. Why is this good? So first things first, I need to record it properly here. I usually play on this side, so let's just switch sides. So, okay. His orbital is only -3. Yes. So, his orbital is only -3. Depends on range, so it is -1 to -3, but around this. So he uses his orbital, and then he does a dick jab. Why is a dick jab so good? It is 10 frames and it is a high crush, which means it will beat out my jabs. And it should trade with my down forward 1 if range is optimal. But sometimes, you see, it depends on range. But in worst case scenario, he will get hit by a down forward 1. But everything else I do, electric will get beaten. This is a good opportunity to show this. Dick jabs are special made. which means you can block them standing and ducking, but they're also considered lows for low crush moves like this here. And you can low parry dig jabs. And now we come to the mix-up part. So now he uses this here. And now I have two incentives. Incentive 1 is to either low parry his dig jab because he gets predictable, and incentive 2 is to use a slower move which low crushes to hit him out of it. For example, if you have a hop kick him here. But my friend here is not dumb. So what can he use to... Yeah, let me see. Yeah, okay. Let me record another thing here. Okay, let's see. Yes. I'm sure he has better moves for this opportunity, but the idea is now that he has conditioned me to respect his dig jab and to do something against his dig jab, he can use like a quick counter hit tool or something to float me out or hit me out of my slower options. Another good thing he can do, if you always low parry, a good option is to just do 2 orbitals, because his orbital low crushes. And it will look like this here. Yeah. So as you can see, this is a mini mix-up in itself, because through his dig jab, even though he is not plus, he can still force me to take action against his stealing turns. And the same concept is used when you forcefully teach your opponent to respect your turns by doing quick mids. The idea is your opponent will start to don't press buttons. And now you can apply mix-ups. But how do you apply mix-ups at wake up? This is harder to explain. Mix-ups on wake up require you to know your opponent's wake up habits and wake up option. For example, I mean, I will go through the basics. For example, you play against Brian here, and let's set him to stand, okay. Then guard all, and he uses quick back roll and spring attack. Okay. Not set. So if you know your opponent is waking up like this, you have to properly punish him. Depending on your characters, you might have mix-ups which catch him doing this. I don't know if Devilgen has something productive. I will try something that I think might work. Yeah. Wrong. So, like this. No. I need a mid. Yes. So, this is a mix-up that really depends on the wake-up options of your opponent. For example, if your opponent likes to do low kicks and you have like a hop kick or something that low crushes, it could look something like this. If you know your opponent likes to wake up mid kick, you can see if you have an option. Oops. You can either try to step it, but that's a bit hard. You can try to make it whiff and then launch it. Or if you don't have the time to let it whiff, you can just predict it and then punish it accordingly. Here you should apply your 12 frame punish usually, because you get a wall splat, and that the wall is huge damage. But you have to think what your opponent is doing and then look what option beat what. For example, now he does a wake up kick. I'm still faster than him in this scenario. That's a good topic. How do you create wake-up opportunities? By using your combos. For example, if I play Devil Jin and I use this ender here, it is very good for my 50-50. A bad ender for my 50-50, for example, is this here. Because with this ender... he's very far away from me, so whenever you want to record something, I tell you. So, like this... yeah. This is a bad Oki ender because your opponent is very far away from you and the frames are not on your side. And every character has various kinds of enders for various reasons. This ender here is good for wall carry. And this ender here, or electric, is good for mix-ups because it keeps your opponent very close to you. Oh, sorry. It keeps your opponent very close to you. And you can apply mix-ups very easily. So you have to consider on like those combos, what ender do you use and what unique opportunities does it give you. For example, one extreme example for Devil Jin might be this ender here. It puts your opponent back turned and this is really great. So, apart from combos, how do you control the Oki situation? For example, you have moves that give great Oki. If you do just the first hit of Devil Jin, your opponent is in a very specific Oki situation, because if he does anything other than side roll, he will get hit by this here and you get a free combo. If he just lays down and does nothing, he will get hit by it anyway. His only option is to side roll here. If he does anything else, he gets hit by it. Now let's see spring kick. He can't even spring kick because he lies on the floor with his head toward you and his feet on this side. So he can do a spring kick. The Oki is very controlled. Another way to control Oki for mix-up situations is with special wall enders. So let's see, for example, if I do back forward, I limit his Oki options. If I do this here, he can spring kick. If I do this here, he can't. And every character has various wall enders that create unique opportunities for wake up, and if you mix them up, your opponents, it's harder for him to learn your patterns, and you can control the mix up and wake up options of your opponent to further mix him up. Same goes with throws. I mean, I don't have specific throws. I can change to Dragunov for a bit. A lot of characters have throws which give you very specific Oki and you can mix up your opponent very well. Dragunov has this here. Yes. So as you can see, guard all. If your opponent just stands up after this throw, you get a free combo. This is a very specific mix-up and Oki situation. Another good example for this kind of stuff is Noctis. What I'm trying to tell you here is you have to keep your character in mind, and every character has throws, wall combos or various moves that put your opponent in an Okizeme situation where you have very unique setups. For example, this move here, if your opponent stands up in any way, you get a relaunch. How is that useful? So first off, what are your opponent's options here? Okay, he can either just lay on the ground, which will let your attack whip. I said lay on the... Why is he standing up? Very weird. Very weird. But He just stands up at the moment, but if he would lay down, it will whiff. What else do he have? He can side roll. This is a good option here. Why does he... This is very weird. Maybe if I do it like this. Yes, okay. So, if he side rolls, it doesn't hit him. But what happens if he always side rolls? I can figure out that he side rolls and then apply a mix-up when he stands up. Because I know he won't challenge me, so I mix him up later. And depending on characters you have very specific stuff. For example, if you play Devil Jin and your opponent decides to side roll all the time, you can just step with him and then apply a 50-50 on the other side. Or you have a homing move that hits low. Just in the case of Noctis. Forward Fear in itself, Forward Throw in itself is not that good, but with Noctis, he can use it in combos. So you should always have your mind out for that. If you just stand up straight with whatever option you have, you will get relaunched, so you have to either lay on the ground or side roll in any direction. Or wait it out and then stand up. So this is mix-upping your opponent with Oki options, and this is hard to learn. I mean, it's not hard, it just takes time to learn, because you have to know your character, what options do you have for creating Oki, and what are your options in each unique Oki situation. And once you learn this, you will have like a plethora of things you can use to mix up your opponents. Let's go back to Devil Jin. Let's talk about how to condition your opponent to never press buttons so you can... I mean, not conditioning him. How do you find good moves to use your mix-ups afterwards? I will show you with Kazuya, because Kazuya is very easy to understand. Now we are talking strictly about opportunities in which you can use hell sweeps or any kind of slow startup move, apart from conditioning your opponent in certain situations to not press buttons. So what are universal things that your opponent will not press buttons afterwards usually? First things first, look at your opponent. If you see any move you do and your opponent doesn't attack afterward, this is a good opportunity to attack him. Another good opportunity is, for example, if you have long strings like this here. So this string here has a third hit. The third hit is very punishable, but if it is a counter hit, you get a lot of stuff. If the third hit is a counter hit, you can get a huge combo. I never practiced this, and I also heard in Season 2 they nerfed this, but you used to get like a 120 damage combo here. So your opponent wants you to do the third move on block, so he can punish you heavily for this. But because this is a third hit, where the third hit really fucks you up if you run into it, you can just do the first two hits a couple of times, and then when he doesn't expect, you can do the last hit here, okay? And on the other hand, you can use your opponent's hesitation to do stuff like this. Why does this work? He's afraid of the mid, so he doesn't press buttons because he wants it to go on block. But because he doesn't press buttons, you can just use it for a hell sweep. This is great in two regards. First things first, you get a free hell sweep. And on the other hand, now he's more nervous than before, and maybe he will hit into the third hit and you will get your huge combo. Same thing with this string here. This string here has also a third hit, and you can use this string too to do mix-ups. Even though frame-wise it's not your turn, but you have what they call mental plus frames. There is a third hit, people will not just attack you afterwards. I have the string to show you. But first I will show you something different. One good thing to do with Kazuya is to use this here, for example, and I see this a lot. I mean, I'm not saying this is the best way to use it, but it is just an example on how you could use it. Do a down forward 1-2 on hit, and if it connects, your opponent is really minus. And because he's minus, it's a good way to start mixing him up. If he tries to challenge your hell sweep, he eats this. So after strings that hit on block, like for example a jab, and I will show you this with Devil Jin here. This is also a concept that can be used for a lot of characters. You just have to understand your own character and see what frames you have and how you can construct these. I will explain Devil Jin's plus on hit mix-up game. So if you have any move that is very plus on hit, for example if a jab hits you, Devil Jin's jab is plus 8 on hit. And this move here is 17 frames in startup. So if you do this move on hit, and immediately this move, it will come out 8 frames faster, which makes this a 9 frames move. So this is a 9 frames mid that is very hard to step. And let me just bring another Devil Jin here, just to show you. Devil Jin, where are you? Here. If you hit a jab or a down forward 1 with Devil Jin, which are both, I mean this move, and this move, they are all plus 8 on hit. And I will record something to show you. Now let me do this from this side to be sure that it's as fast as possible. So now we have this situation. He hit me with this. What are my options? Okay, I can't step. I can't attack. I can parry. I can backdash, but it doesn't bring me much. So I can duck. I can crush it. So my only options here with Devil Jin are I can try to parry it, and I can just block it. I can't attack it because it is a 100% frame-tight frame trap, and I can step it because I'm -9. I mean, I'm -8. So once I understood this, he can do this here. Oh, and if I parry, if I try to backdash. So now we have a true 50-50 situation where you can either duck and eat the mid, but block the hell sweep, or parry for the mid, but eat a hell sweep. You know what I mean? A lot of characters have similar things. I mean, they are not essentially as hard as this true 50-50 here, and this is not even a true 50-50. There are various ways depending on character to get out of this. For example, if you play Yoshimitsu, you can just flash into it, it's fast. But the idea being, if you hit something on hit, a string or a jab, and it is on hit, very plus on hit, then you have a huge lead, and if you have frame traps, for example, if you find a move that is +5 and you have a 15 frames counter hit launcher, you can use this to condition your opponent to not press buttons, and when he doesn't press buttons, you use something risky, for example, a power low or a jab, or I mean, and a throw, not a jab. So this is conditioning by hitting moves, which give you huge plus frames. And one last thing I want to show you, because this is really nice to show you, is with Jin. A lot of Jin players, when they start out, they want to play Jin like a Mishima. And everybody says, don't play him that way. And why do they say this? It's not because he doesn't have a 50-50. He has a 50-50, and it's not even a bad 50-50. The thing with Jin is, he's a very well-rounded, very strong character, and he has basically everything, but in a slightly worse way. For example, he has a great hell sweep, but his is slower than Devil Jins and has a bit less range. He has two kinds of electrics, great, but he has so much more, and one of these strings is, let me see, yes, 2, 1, 4. All 3 of those hits here are safe on block, and they end with 2 mids here, and you can delay the last hit quite some while. This is the undelayed version, this is the delayed version. And does it do something on counter hit? Not so much, but it is a true combo on counter hit, and it deals more damage and more plus frames. So your opponent doesn't want to run into your mid here. And we have the same situation as before with the 3-hit strings, and you can do stuff like this here. Or if you just press, if you mash 4, if you do 2, 1, 4, 4 quickly, he has even a built-in knockdown low. So it creates this very easy mix-up with a string. Either he will do the mid, he will do nothing and do something completely different that gives him a like plus frames or a guaranteed throw attempt or anything like this. Or he will use it to do a knockdown low. So this string alone here has so much mix-up potential in itself. And we have a lot of characters like these who have mix-up strings or strings that are long, and you can use the mental plus frames to enforce a mix-up. I don't play Asuka and I don't think I can show you, but Asuka has this crouch cancelling stuff, and she crouch cancels here and does pokey lows. And once you're conditioned to like try to low parry them or whatever, she has mix-up options, and you have to take your character into consideration. One character that is really reliant on mind games and mixing up your opponent is Lily, because Lily is very linear. So it's not like a lot of characters can do quite linear moves because usually they track to one side at least, but Lily has a lot of moves that you can step in both directions. So she has to rely on the couple of homing moves she has, and one of the homing moves she has is while standing this here, Duke Glide and quarter circle 3+4 here. Quarter circle 3+4 is crazy on block, it's very plus on block. But, and this is the thing with Tekken, how good plus frames are really depend on the character. If you gave, for example, Shaheen good mids that are like +6 on block, he would be broken. But Lily here has this move, and I don't remember the exact frames here, but I think it is somewhere between +5 to +8 on block. But Lily has no really crazy counter hit launches. So the best thing she can do is after this here on block here, and here comes the whole mix-up situation, she has no crazy frame prep. She can use this here, and this can be used to counter hit confirm. But most often she will do one of those two things. First, she will try, if you respect her plus frames, to get even more plus frames. Or the other option is, if you like to step her after this, she needs to use another homing move, like for example forward 3. And the last option, if you don't respect her plus frames, because her plus frames aren't that good, and you jab her out of it, she has to use high crush moves, high risk moves. She has a lot of opportunities. One good thing you can do, for example, if you respect these frames, apart from using this mid here, she can use forward 4. And depending on if you hold forward, she can go into back turn. And from here on, she has a lot of mix-up opportunities. But of course, it's not like she can always go into this stance, because this is a risky thing to do. If she always did this, you could just predict it and punish her heavily for it. On the other hand, if she just does this here, this is plus on hit. Very plus on hit, and she can continue her offense. So take this, and I hope it wasn't too long. I just wanted to show you a couple of various versions on how to mix up your opponent and create situations where you have to play mind games. And I want you to know that it really depends on the character you're playing, and you have to know a lot about frames and a lot about psychology in your opponent. And you have, in order to have a mix-up, and I think this is the best tip, is you have to teach your opponent that he should respect you and create the mix-up situation yourself. And this takes a lot of work, a lot of knowledge about your character and frames, and you need to get a feel for when your opponent has started respecting you, and then you can use slower things. Not as snakish as, but you know what I mean. So I hope this was helpful for you, and if you have any questions, just write me. I might do another video on this topic, maybe something with a text or something, so I have more structure in this, because I think it might be too long. But have fun practicing, and see you soon, guys.